of that.
Our emotions get in the way of what?
Like in terms of, I already have what I want. It's there, we see it, but we block ourselves from feeling it, right?
Yeah, and that you have to write that down and refer to it 40,000 times over the next 1,000 years, because that's how batshit out of control we all are. Contentment, satiation, satisfaction, real joy. If you have these things independent of circumstance, now you're talking enlightened super genius person. And then you can go run a marathon and really enjoy it. No problem, because you have innervation, and innervation precedes action. Now, if you're so repressed, which you are, that you have to go run the marathon to get relief, then you have things in the opposite order. I recognize and submit to the fact that we have to do physical things sometimes first. And that's why catharsis is the first step. So I realize that this is necessary. But the training says you're going to realize in 10 seconds that you're the one you've been searching for. You're going to realize in 10 seconds that things aren't so bad and all your bitching is not anything. You're going to realize in 10 seconds satisfaction, satiation, because that experience biochemically creates this superpower person. And this superpower person thinks faster, gets more done, less time, can strategize how to have a successful business, can run a marathon, can do all that. So even though we have the horse in back of the cart all the time, we submit ourselves to training to get the horse in front of the cart, which means prioritizing your inner experience of life, not your outer experience. The only way for sustainable success in the inner and outer experience of life is to have so much energy that you are an overflow of energy. And you're not constantly squeezing and leaching your organs so that as you grow older, you devolve because of trying to keep everything and everyone out and under control. And by remembering with tomorrow, and when I go do the marathon, and when I get this, it's never that way. All the world is teaching that. External solution for personal problem. When I do better, I feel better. And I'm telling you, if you have to do that, I understand. Makes me feel great to clean the house, for example. But you've got to practice of life, which is when I feel better, I'll do better. That's the reality of it. If you're constantly changing things out here to feel better inside of yourself, then you're going to enter Vajrayana hell, like they say in Buddhism, which is worse than the Christian hell, which is rational analysis, common sense and reason. Common sense and reason has nothing to do with non-cognitive grace. You're not going to figure out anything around here. You can accept the sunshine on your face today. If you split time, you stop and you accept obedience to instruction. And you say, oh, okay, the teaching of all wellness and enlightenment says, spend time soaking up nature. Okay. William says, here, do it in 10 seconds. Open the door, go outside, 10 seconds, sun on your face. Then you have cumulative benefits. That's the master skill. Constantly submitting yourself to surrendering everything and smelling the roses. And you think that results in dissociativeness or not getting your job done or something. The absolute opposite is true. That's why the master bike rider or marathoner pauses before they get on the bike to start that right race. They all do that. They're all in this place of stillness because that's the wellspring of life. So you're actually not doing something out there to get it. You're doing something in here to do out there. All geniuses function that way. All Olympians function that way. So why not prioritize inner repair, maintaining, and upgrading, as I've said to you for 2 years, or however long. And yet you, like everybody else, listen to one thing. Because the mind can't accept the proposition, because there's so much nightmare and so much thought and so much emotional buildup in different places of the body, that you can't think of anything other than release. It's only, God, I got to get out of this feeling. God, I got to figure this out. But only if we surrender to like the expert people, real sages, and they give you this power because of personal magnetism, that the release really is going to happen. So the cognitively figuring it out is not how, love happens to a child, for example. And we're all children in the face of nature and in the face of truly wise people. You got to get it through your head that you're not going to be the wise person. As much as you want to be the wise person, there are people that eclipse your intelligence. And so my whole journey is to trying to understand how my justifying myself is getting in the way of my evolution. And I need to find sources of true wisdom and think about it a little bit and let it in, like a Socrates or something, and make that my life. Make being a student my life, not being a knower with a commentary on every subject. Think about your mind on a daily basis. And my mind is the same. All we do is strategize to think and to squirm out of being accountable and being transparent and stuff like that. That's what we do every day. That's what you do and she does and he does. And try to get things. The best thing that I understood lately, that I was teaching this morning and said it, and it's really becoming a great thing, and I'm so happy to be able to share with people because it just teaches me, is that you cannot understand and you will not remember. So every time that you have this experience of getting healed mentally, emotionally, physically, you're going to forget in like 20 minutes as soon as we're done. And when you start tomorrow morning, you're going to be like, well, there's no reason for me to read that book. Like he said, I need to do the dishes and I need to get ready for the race and I need to get ready for work. It's, the mind overtakes everything with an external solution idea for a personal problem. And we go through life avoiding our emotional reality. Yet if you go to hire a CEO for Sony or something, the biggest test that they do is on emotions, not intellect. EQ is more powerful than IQ now, according to science. And you don't spend any time on EQ. You spend time on releasing the effects of EQ, of what's going on with your emotional intelligence, but to actually educate yourself emotionally and to go beyond catharsis into contentment and satiation and satisfaction, that's not a devotion in your life. And all I'm saying is make it a devotion in your life, because that's advanced meditation, which is above the level of the intellect and the senses. You go through emotion, intellect, senses, and you reach this experience of being absorbed in the bike ride, for example, or right now with the light through the window and the couch. And what am I griping about? Everything is great. What was I doing for the last month? Why didn't I call William and ask him for a session, since it works with 100% near efficacy? I want more than that. That's what I need to be, receiving a teacher better than 100%, because he can't solve all my problems or they can't solve all my problems. So I don't do teaching. You find out if you're starving that you better go for where you can find bread. I'm just one beggar telling another beggar where they can find bread. But you try to avoid the feeling of emotional starvation, unrequited love, disappointment in life. So you say, stuck on go. If I can just get this person to like me, or manage this person, or if he or she can just be successful and okay. So it's everybody but you. And yet everybody is touching your energy and bouncing off of that and patterning their life. It's what happens when they touch you that's influencing their whole destiny. So it's who you are, not what you have, not what you give. That's all after the effect of who you are. Your contribution to the human genome is your legacy. So it's who you are that you have to work on. What you are in your energy, To do that, you got to remove the covering to find out where it is that you're sad, where there's repressed emotion. So you got to submit to this thing forever. I do every morning for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And then I teach and I start over again. And I'm not perfect. I still have more problems than God knows. So if you have a better method, or if you know somebody with a better method than the one I'm on, let me know and I'll sign up. But I don't believe it, because I read 1,000 books, was a monk of 3 traditions, come from the school of extreme hard knocks, and come from a super intelligent, multiple PhD in one person, $10 million family. And all of those qualifications, and martial art master, blah, 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 other 12 books, all of those qualifications with a little sincerity, which I think I have. Pretty many, maybe I don't know. Okay. But I think, in the scale of it all, and with those qualifications and being a bit humble towards it all, I'm very happy about what I understand and what I can do. And I don't believe there's much education or training that can do better than this, than what I'm giving you. Because I stop where real sages and saints start. And that's what this whole class is about. And most classes don't do that. So that's my default out, is that my teaching is not me, it's real sages and saints and scriptures. And if a human being can't do real sages and saints and scriptures, I can just laugh at them or be humble or whatever else, because I know that they don't know much about anything at all. And they're not winning with anything, whether it's David Goggins or my buddy Don Shipley, retired senior chief SEAL, or the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Club, super extreme athletes, or people with multiple PhDs or whatever. To me, I've reached the place in my vast delusional arrogance that that's all giggly, just giggly, because they're not going anywhere, because it's all about the external world. They don't even have a conversation about the internal world. That's why I lock myself into one conversation. Let's make emotional healing, behavioral healing, being a conduit to nature, realizing faith in God, which is normal because there's an ascending and descending order of intelligence in any subject. So there's got to be a God. And you could say gods if you can't believe that. There's a God of transmissions, there's a God of this and that, and you're not any of those gods. So you've reached the place of humility and surrender and becoming a conduit. That's it. And then how come I don't understand that, But at least I lock myself into the conversation. But why aren't we able to surrender today? I don't know. I really don't know. And I'm really sad about it and confused about it. And when the vast majority of teachers and people would start talking and giving me a solution to that, it takes a lot of humility to not laugh at them or punch them, because I don't think they know a thing about a thing. I'm convinced they don't, because I'm just coming from the place of how do I become healed perfect right now and have all resources right this second? How's that going to happen right now? And most teaching and teachers haven't reached the place of understanding that advanced meditation is actually the goal for today.
I would love to surrender. I mean, I think about surrendering all the time and staying wrong and being the student. And even though you and I don't touch base every day, I think about your teachings all the time. And I find myself using your language a lot around other people. But I know the only way I can truly help my clients is if I try to heal myself first. I have to lead by example. If I don't lead by example, I'm just phony.
Leading by example is not leading by example. Leading by example is total surrender, being a follower. There is no leading in a real leader. It just happens by default. That's why they don't have any ego. So the conversation gets tweaked all the time. And you learn more of the principles, like, I can't get this right if I had to. Okay. So you got that principle intact, and then then you can start over and make your way to great contact. Great contact is not for the world, because great contact means another teacher, another person taking over, and we're stuck on being the leader. So when I put great contact on today, anybody that's watching this video, they'll probably tune out, they'll tap out, because that's when it won't make sense. Right now, since I'm a stupid human, maybe I make a lot of sense. Like, oh, he's cool. And then I start saying scriptures, or I start saying Tibetan monk in the cave, but too much of a gap, and I can't explain anymore. So, because it's not time for me to explain then. So most of the people are just sacrifices. Food for the cosmic cake. Straw dogs. The Tao Te Ching says, the enlightened person regards all people as straw dogs. How's that for loving? To be burnt in the temple fire. It means that your flesh and bone is going to be worm food. That's it.
Would you say your flesh and bone is going to be what?
Worm food.
Oh, yeah.
Going to be eaten by microorganisms in the air, and whether you burn yourself or whatever. That's your destiny in the physical world. So here's my commercial. Are you worried about your future? Do you have concerns? What's going to happen? Do my kids love me? Am I honored? Will I have enough money to keep things going? When I look forward into the future of my life, am I going to find happiness and fulfillment? And then I flash a graveyard and I go, no, actually, that's your destiny. You see that?
You're going to leave with absolutely nothing.
The enlightened person knows that. The unenlightened person, or the enlightened wannabe, even knows it. The enlightened wannabe me knows that. So therefore, death is a privilege and a happiness. It's not a fear. That's kind of funny to me. Why would death be a fear? I don't know what people are talking about. So for the person who already knows that and has contemplated that, that's the only way you can get to advanced meditation. Then the bike ride is another category of things, like the jujitsu. But everybody in the jujitsu, they want me to make that primary because that's their path. So I'm in a total war because I don't give my energy to them primarily. I have great energy sometimes and they want it. I give my energy to meditation primarily, which of course they know all about. Everybody knows about life and enlightenment and meditation. And my lesson to you is that it's impossible for you to know about that. I've read the 1,000 books, Monk 3. I know nothing about it. I have no ability at all. It's a horror show. It's horrible. But way more than any local center or any average monk or any, I don't forget it. I'm better. So it's just relative, you know. If you want miracles today for your mind and body, you got to stay with the not knowing and become a conduit, not an internal, external strategist. If you think about your mind, your headstrong mind, it is ignoring the belly and it's taking it from life without getting to the place of realizing that the scourging that's happening from all these dangers and all these losses is actually healing you. So you should have physically reflective results progressively. You should become healthier, stronger, smarter with time. So that's what life is for, to evolve who you are. To find your way to this, there's got to be a my favorites list of ideas, education, I call it the knowledge, that can remind you, because you're going to forget immediately. So you can only, like a drum beat, establish the backbeat by starting over again today with particular things you read in that book or particular bits of knowledge that can help you to calm down and ground down. That's a down thing.
No, I think the only way I'd be afraid of dying is if I wasn't living the life I wanted to live right now and care about how I felt right now, care about how I feel right now.
Well, then you have to die in that. Then. Sorry.
Am I surrendering enough every day? Like, am I loving enough?
That's
Am I
all
loving myself?
rationality. Rationality is hell in the sense of measurement. Measurement can never make you acceptable to be given unconditional love and grace. You can't use measurement to do that. So then you're doomed to hell. If you ground down, that means you have to surrender every possibility. You're not going to die being right. You're not going to die being loving enough. What does that even mean? You see? So that's, again, the difference between unconditional love and rationality. People think that rationality gives rise to unconditional love. That's opposite. Psychologists will tell you that thoughts control emotions. That's illogical. There's a loop between emotions and thoughts, but emotions control thoughts, not thoughts control emotions. Unconditional love controls or influences rationality, not the other way around. But we're stuck in the cortex because we got enough bites of food being smart with the cortex as human beings that we said, okay, let's figure it out. If I figure out the skincare and I figure out the relationship and I get the Roto-Rooter plumbing going and I get all these different things, that's it. Now you could die happy. You can make it so that you give yourself permission to die. You're going to die anyway. It's nothing to do with you so much. So the idea is that if you want to live, practice death. If you want to bloom and have more energy than anybody, more intelligence than anybody, so you really can write your own script in life, then ground first. If you want to have a big tree, you got to have deep roots, right? It's the same with the energetic body of the human being. Every cell has north and south pole of electricity. The heart has a 40-foot field of measurable magnetism. The most advanced way to diagnose a heart in a hospital is a magnetocardiogram. They put a wand on the heart and they measure the magnetism of the heart. Everything is magnetism in the universe. The planet, north and south pole of magnetism. Information goes over the skin of the cell and talks to the genome and talks to the bloodstream magnetically, electromagnetically, and chemically. Every galaxy, north and south pole of magnetism. The center of every galaxy is a black hole. You think black hole is a bad thing? It creates galaxies. So you want to become a black hole by accepting everything and everyone with humility. And in that, all the energies of life will come to you. And a lot of them will destroy you. And in that destruction and in that loss and in that robbery and in that everything you can think of, violences, you become scourged. And in that scourging, you'll touch down then. You become humble then. Or if you submit yourself to a great challenge, the bike ride, you're going to get humble then. So let's get humble right now instead. And those other things will be for another time. And that accepting of everyone and everything in their divine aspect. What is he saying? What is she saying? What is mommy, daddy, sister, brother saying? How are they God wearing a mask? That has nothing to do with boundaries. Boundaries are facilitated automatically after you accept. That's the jets of the black hole. The last thing in the universe is black holes. All the stars and all the planets will all be destroyed. The black holes will only remain in the universe. That's science. That's because that's the juncture between the supernatural and the natural. The event horizon of the black hole, all laws break down, physics, they don't make sense anymore. So once you become totally accepting, you go to this other dimension sort of thing, beyond, transcendence. You become surrendered to everyone, everything now by feeling your body, because your biological biography is what you have to pay attention to, not some force that you're going to do something. And then because you get knocked in the head, like the bike ride, now you'll feel your body. Okay, I do it too. We have to do those things. But let's practice something else as well. And that is, you find your body right now and you find the earth. The only way you can find the earth is you find your body. The only way you can find your body is get out of your head, see your biological biography, because you're scared of the people in the air. Because when you calm down in this field of psychic magnetism, you start to see all your relationships. You start to see your history. So you can't surrender at a certain point anymore because you're too scared. You have to objectify and label. So inner outer reality is not the way to live. It lives surrendered. And when you live surrendered in this moment, just as practice anyway, all the miracle streams come to you. The miracle streams are the information of psychic magnetism, the information of these sounds, these sights, these textures, these sexual things, these food things, these emotional things, these voice things, these sights, these sounds, these scents, these thoughts, these emotions. And once you feel your body enough, because you've got the transmission, you got the energy of the master touching you. And you think it might be nature, it might be this and that, but actually it's per people, masterful people, because nature doesn't have cognition exactly. When you respect people, you'll find your way to the masters, because you're going to see these bright shining lights. Like, let's say you saw 8 billion people right now. There's going to be a bunch of super bright shining lights you're going to see. And you're going to see you're really dim compared to them. You may as well connect to them. Historically, presently, they exist. So now you're connected with people, places, and things in the highest places. Talk about being connected. That makes you feel safe, so that you can be coddled like a child. Say, oh, I'm just in process. I'm only 4. I don't have to understand all this stuff. I can be free because I'm protected. So you have a free spirit. Then the world teaches you rationality of your free spirit, and you destroy your free spirit. And therefore you can't learn as fast, and you don't have the same intelligence. As you grow older, you get dumber. But that's not the experience of wise people. They grow older and become smarter, more emotionally resilient, more behaviorally effective, because their whole life is devoted to it. I never listen well enough. Okay. How do I do it better? And I practice. So the only darshan is going to heal you.
Slow down and do nothing.
Yeah, really. When you sit with your body enough, you find yourself, then you're going to find the earth, because it's been there the whole time, offering power up. There's radiating electromagnetism coming from the earth. The texture of trees, the flowing water, the singing birds, the twinkling stars, the crackling fires, the rustling leaves, all of this stuff is here. This is nature's way to bring you to meditation. Meditation is the scientifically proven way to increase your intelligence and your wellness faster, better than any other known method.
It was one morning, and I think I emailed this to you, and I don't know if you got it. It was right after New Year's, and it was very mild. It was like in the 50s, and I opened the front door because I like to do that every morning, and it smelled like fresh flowers in like a moist greenhouse. It was incredible. Like, I'm like, where did this come from? But I love that though. I love, especially when I do work in the facial room in the morning, the sun rises in one of my windows in here, and it shoots like right onto the bed that I'm working on. And then about like almost noontime, it'll come in and it'll hit the client like right on the face, like the sun coming in the window.
Oh.
It's incredible. It's absolutely like, it's just the connection, just that feeling of this room and like the outside coming in, like it just feels so good. And to see
you
like
have that experience, you have energy, right?
see the birds on the tree outside the window and the snow on the leaves right now, and I love it. It's
So
if
you've got to discipline yourself to understand, I like that and I do it this much. And then when you start to live in unity with the trees, when you're walking and talking to somebody, with the light through the window when you're talking to somebody, then you'll know you made a tiny bit of progress. There's always the vast need for improvement. There's never the completion delusion of I do this. Now, you do that and it opens you up to be able to air difficulties, air problems, so that you become more resilient, more powerful, quicker thinker, more responsive, more responsible, because you're joined with power. Connectivity is power. And connectivity is not the head strategizing. Connectivity is that light behind you. Connectivity is that snow around you. Nature is your larger body. So you learn to communicate with people with nature's relationship encompassing the communication. That's what a child does. That's what a person free does. When you're free, your senses are vast and you're connected with the dynamism of the environment. And you have emotional freedom, support. So you recognize this 10-second thing, and I'm going to do 10s more. And this can allow you to be humble to say, oh, okay, my difficulty is emotional and it's in my body and I feel it in my belly. And then you can get into deeper level of meditation, which we're going to go into now. Can you draw me a Scribbles map? Scribbles map is a little stick person where you find out where you're avoiding seeing your own body mind, which is down there. It's not just in the head.
William, I have about 15 minutes.
Mm.
I know.
Ma. Shaman in the woods, Catholic prayer person. Everybody starts out with the drum beat of repetition. To be able to do that, you've got to be exposed and transparent. So keep scribbling on where you feel in your body. You're worried about loving enough. You're worried about your relationship. And do what the masters of life do, which is work your way into a trance by bringing this information up, which is the negative, and matching it to a positive, profound source, like a reading from Aristotle or something.
I still feel it in my heart, my lower belly. And you can't, I mean, in my back too. And my
Okay.
head.
Okay. Start to breathe deeply into that stuff. Just like if you had a wound, you're going to breathe into the wound. You're going to focus on it with your mind and breathe into it. So it's a lot to get out of the head. And these issues that are in the body mind, your biological biography, is how you get out of the head, which is how you're going to find your body, to find the earth, to find the support of nature, so forth. For now, breathe deep. Use the diaphragmatic breathing I taught you. Right hand on chest, left hand on belly. Chest doesn't move on the inhale. Not in the initial part of the inhale, only in the last part of the inhale. Lower, middle, upper. Think about some of your worst memories. If it's unresolved, then you still need to remember it and bring it up to the surface and resolve it. If it's unresolved, then you don't need to worry about it. Is there any unresolved bad memories? Ton of them for you and everybody. Don't go through life not facing them. Face it and resolve a little more. Lower, middle, upper. Keep going. Deeper, deeper catharsis. Like the crying breath. Repressed emotion is the greatest cause of life failure. Physical disease. Future fears. Being subject, being invaded, being defeated, being wrong, being bad and the problem. Where is all that true? Don't breathe with your chest in the initial portion. It creates too much pressure. Breathe down low first. Diaphragmatic breathing, like if you're getting a hug, or that's how a baby breathes or an animal. Human beings, adults, breathe that way with the chest first because of too much anxiety. It's the only reason. Deeply centered, you don't breathe that way. That's it. So you got to go a long way before the bubble can be burst. So now that the bubbles burst a little bit, let's go on to step 2. Relax your hands and sense nasal airflow. Magnetite bearing tissue in your sphenoid bones at the root of your nose. That tissue senses magnetism in the air. It's how birds navigate. It's how animals understand prey predator vibe reality. So you have the same tissue that does the same thing. It's also in your brain and spine. Spine and brain is the order of God. Remove your attention from the outer sheaths of your awareness and get into your neurology. Get into the spine and brain. Grand circulation, microcosmic orbit, and Qigong is the same in yoga, same in Tibetan Buddhism, and it's the same just naturally. It just happens naturally. Once you get the energy field, you can now move magnetism with your mind. Sensing the magnetic nature of reality or the magnetism in the air. Withdraw your senses. Become internally oriented and move magnetism up the outside of your spine, through your head, top of your head, down the front of your body, into the earth. Up from the earth now, include the earth, is called grand heavenly circulation, otherwise known as the macrocosmic orbit. There's the microcosmic orbit that you mentioned to me, and the macrocosmic orbit. It's the same in all the Enlightenment traditions, and it just happens naturally. When you get that magnetic vibe, magnetic healing, you naturally should invest it into your own healing primarily. And then afterwards, you're going to be cleaner vessel so that you can get things done more efficiently. Oh, up from the earth, over the spine, over the top of the head, down to the center of the head, through the roof of the mouth, relaxing the tongue, down the front of the body, through the belly, perineum, out through the legs, out through the earth. Deeper level of earth, moving tectonic plates. That's a particular sensation, just like the feeling of flour on your skin is a sensation you can benefit from, or tree or soil in your hands. All of these nature's nourishings are available to the enlightened soul, enlightened psyche. So the same way with the earth has lava, magnetism, solid metal ball. Feel these sensations. Simply speaking, just the ground, the soil, like working in the garden. Bring that feeling into your body. Mud is an important thing in all the traditions. It's where they say a human being is born from, the dirt. So bring it all the way up now, up to the sky. Include that sensation, that nourishment, as you co-process or co-feel different nourishments like essential oil and flour on your skin, and oil on your skin, and wind, fresh air, moss, snow, rain. There's so many nourishments. Bear fur, fish swimming, dolphin skin, eagles soaring, These are all the nourishments that are to provide your body with enough energy that you can heal and you can open up to, say, the stars, let the stars come down through the body. All the traditions of inner energy healing speak these same things. So up over your back, over the top of the head, through the top of the head, up to the stars, layers of sky, clouds and rain, and all kinds of things. Now begin to go into space, which is bigger than forms. Silence is louder than sounds. Turn the videos off. This is me reading a Zen scripture.
This is a Zen scripture called Calming the Mind. Too much knowledge leads to overactivity. Better to calm the mind. The more you consider, the greater the loss. Better to unify the mind. Excessive thinking weakens the will. The more you know, the more your mind is confused. A confused mind gives rise to trouble, and a weakened will obstruct your way. Do not say there is no harm in this. The ensuing pain may last forever. Do not think there is nothing to fear. The calamities turn like bubbles in a boiling pot. Water dripping ceaselessly will fill the four seas, and specks of dust not wiped away will become mountains.
Sorry.
Protect the branches to save the roots. Though a small matter, it's not trivial. Close 7 orifices. Shut off the senses. Pay no heed to forms and do not listen to sounds. Listening to sounds, you become deaf. You become blind observing forms.
Find sighs of relief and natural pauses. That's step 3. That's samadhi in all the traditions. Same thing happens from breathtaking beauty or an epiphany moment. That's the greatest way to produce brainwave coherence and hormonal balancing.
Guarding the pure and simple, they drown in too much beauty. Consciousness is an untamed horse, the mind an unruly monkey. If the spirit is overactive, the body will sicken and die. Wrong conduct ends in delusion. Those treading this path become mired in mud. To regard ability as precious is called confusion. To exaggerate clumsiness and covet skill does not lead to great virtue. Of much fame but little contribution, their reputation quickly crumbles. Merely reading books is of no lasting value. Being inwardly proud brings the enmity of others. Using speech or written words to gain the praise of others is something most repulsive. What common people regard as auspicious, the sage takes as evil. The enjoyment gained is fleeting, but the sorrow is everlasting. Beware of shadows and tracks. The farther you leave them, the better. Sitting upright in a shade of a tree, neither traces nor shadow remain. Worries of birth and distress of old age are products of your own thoughts. If the mind's thinking is ended, birth and death are forever cut off. Not dying, not born, without form or name, the way is empty, spacious, tranquil. The myriad phenomena swirl and are equal. What is of value? What is cheap? Where is there shame or glory? What is excellent or inferior? How can there be heavy or light? The clear sky puts
Video's on. The idea is that there's different pieces of knowledge that can happen for you that work. But if your mind says, oh, I've got to have the perfect knowledge and the perfect technique and the thing has got to work, then you'll never be a student. So you just keep on adding to the list of things that you're sure about that you want to explore now. And make your way to size of relief and natural pauses. If you can get to size of relief and natural pauses, you get to something wonderful that eclipses problems. It gives you insight on things. So that's the meditative state. No thought, sighs of relief, natural pauses, body's heavier with exhales. And you extend that over time. And as you extend that, you're going to see more biological changes happen. When you come back from those moments, you have energy. You can then externalize your attention to do what you need to do with greater effectiveness. This is the way.
Thank you very much.
Mon plaisir. Send me more notes. And schedule the next one when you're ready.
About 2 weeks.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, William. Be well.
2.